That's it. We're live. You ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Indeed, let's do it, man. How you doing, Pav?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, great to be here, man. This is awesome.
I mean, you sound so motivated. I love it. My God, that level of energy. We'll have different times of the day going on. I think I'm coming down, you're coming up. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, exactly. I'm in the middle of the day.
right,
Kind of day
exactly.
started.
Just had a cup of coffee and you're ready for it. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
So before I get going, do you want to maybe introduce yourself so the few people who don't know you know who you are, that kind of stuff? Is that cool?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do
Yes.
that. I think easy part. That's the easy part. I
Yeah,
think
right, for sure.
yeah, and yeah, but I think before I introduce myself, I really want to thank you for reaching out and inviting me. Uh,
So thank
Actually, to be very honest, I think this is the first or second time being on a live channel to chat like this. So that's pretty exciting for me, to be very honest.
Nice.
And yeah, thanks for that. And yeah, so about me, just if people don't know me, my name is Parvinder Chana, and short is Parv Chana. I'm not sure what is easier for you guys to call, but for me, it's Parvinder is easier. But Parv is tough. But for you guys, if Parv is easy, that's fine too. Um, I am in Canada, in western part, in Vancouver, and originally from India. Moved here like around 20 years ago, so this is my home.
Nice.
Beautiful place. I love it. I can't live anywhere else now since I
Nice.
moved to Vancouver. That's me, and professionally, all Power BI now.
A little bit of fabric as well. You've done a little bit of fabric. I've seen that.
Yeah, I was gonna say like turning into fabric.
Yeah.
So that's it, and mostly work on Power BI. I'm running a consulting company here in
Okay.
Vancouver, which is
Cool.
pretty focused on Power BI. Since 2018, 19, that's what I'm doing. It's I'm enjoying this journey, all the growth in Power BI world. So all of us are enjoying it. So I'm loving it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Live with the data. Like otherwise, originally prior to Power BI, my background is more about working with businesses implementing ERP system tier one and tier two like SAP,
Okay.
Sage, and other. That was like my background, and working with SQL originally was like always with data, and so very close work with businesses and all that stuff, and now more focused in all on analytics and business intelligence and all that fun stuff. So that's pretty
Nice.
much it.
That's a nice. I was going to say a German word, and I forgot the English word for it. A good Zusammenfassung, a good whatever roundup of who you are. I like it. Interesting. I was just you made me think. You mentioned SAP. And someone today I was speaking to, they mentioned something that I haven't worked with for years, and I do not miss at all. It is some kind of Excel add-in. It's called like something analyzer or something to
Yes.
connect Excel to SAP.
Yeah. Yes. There is something like that. Now it's been a while, but I know there is something which can add on in Excel and connect to the SAP data and
Yeah.
backend. And it was very powerful. I think last company I worked, that was my full-time job. It was a fintech here in Vancouver, which was then acquired by PayPal. And
Okay.
I worked with a little bit with PayPal as well. But then I left PayPal because I don't think I'm made for corporate world. Sometimes things you want to do, it
That's
takes
fair.
forever, and
Yeah.
I like to feel like add value to the things. But
Mhm.
in corporate world, sometimes things go a little bit slower. I mean, it has other different advantages.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I think I love to work under pressure, like so much going on, and get the things done, kind of stuff. And yeah, so that's when I was in a fintech, we had SAP there, and we used that tool a little bit. But
Yeah.
when PayPal took over, they have their own system. So okay,
Of course, like they do. Yeah, I don't miss it. I just someone mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Just click and then refresh and wait like half an hour, and the data appears and all that kind of stuff. Companies that companies that as you say, like in PayPal or corporate or whatever. It always upsets me when I hear a company say something like, oh yeah, we're growing, so we're going to behave more like an enterprise company. When I hear that, I'm like, why? Don't do that. Enterprise companies are so annoying. Just stay. Don't be. You don't aim to be rigid. I understand why,
yeah.
of course, but still, when I hear it, it's like alarm bells.
Yeah.
Anyway, before I start rambling on, I'll ramble at some point, but right now I'll try and stay focused on data and Power BI stuff for sure. How about what you said you were starting to do Fabric stuff as well? Is that like an intentional switch, or because career dictates that you should?
Um, I think it's the requirement of like, for example, if I was working in a job and Power BI was good enough to do the job and there's no need of Fabric, I would not probably looked into it.
Mm,
Uh, Maybe I would have looked into it as part of my personal growth,
mm,
right? Or understanding the new platform itself.
mm-hmm. Makes
But
sense.
since I'm in consulting more of things, working with many, many clients,
Yeah.
and some are big, some are small, some are mid-size, and I think there are components in Fabric which will really take them to the next level pretty
Sure.
quickly and will add a lot more value.
Yeah.
Like, for example, one of my client here locally in Vancouver, they 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 started very small in Power BI, like Power
Mm,
Query, play with files and start visualizing the data and all that stuff. But then eventually it becomes so big, it will get to the point we cannot work with the files. We have to really
mm,
persist data somewhere in a data warehouse or somewhere to consume in Power BI, because every time the new files come and doing that stuff was not easy. And to do that, they need to involve IT, and it's a big corporate world again. I'm working with the finance team.
mm,
And then they said if once we involve IT, the things is not going to move that fast. So what we can do, and immediately actually Fabric came at the right time. I'm
mm,
like, okay, you know what? We're going to do a POC, leverage Fabric,
mm.
because you don't have to, because they're already in a premium. I'm like, you don't need to spend any extra money,
Yeah.
and you get these new things which we can really leverage, and then we can hand over to IT. So I think some of this is getting driven by the business need,
Yeah.
and my client has those needs. It's not my personal choice. I think they will get benefited out of it
Yeah. Sure.
without spending extra money.
Yeah.
So I think that's what is driving me on this journey, and I'm loving it. And as I
It's
said,
a great journey.
traditionally I'm from SQL guy, right? So it
Mm.
fits very well.
Yeah. Fair enough.
If Fabric was just notebooks, Python, and Power BI, I would have just Power BI, right? Would
Mm.
not look at Fabric. But
Mm.
now I'm not looking at Fabric just Power BI, but load more than that. And
Mm.
I can bring my knowledge and immediately use from day one.
Mm.
That's the beauty, right? I don't feel outsider.
Yeah, it's true. I have. So I don't have business need for Fabric at this point, but of course I want to learn about it, so I'm not being left behind. It's a new technology. Always have to stay as up to date as possible. Have to, want to, whatever. I think my biggest issue with Fabric thus far is that it makes me feel very, very stupid, because there's so many things I don't like, really basic stuff as well. Like I'm looking at the screen now. I've got 41 days left on my trial. Okay, so this is my 41 days until I got to start paying or whatever. And I was like, okay, let's do some stuff. Let's create like a lake house, and then in my lake house, I obviously get data into it. So I'll create this like Gen 2 workflow,
Yeah.
check it out, and then connect it to the API that I always connect to. Great, everything should work. And there's a comment. Look, and I'm going to bring this comment up. I'll continue, but where's all the comments gone? I forgot everything. Oh, okay. I can't bring a comment up because Restream is being strange. But I'm looking at Vanessa saying that I hate working in Power Query. Fabric is my soul sister. Vanessa, I've got all respect for you, but we couldn't be more disagreeing on that point. I love Power Query so much, but this is just, it's what you're used to, right? So I was creating this Gen 2 workflow, and then it loaded, but it wouldn't refresh. And I'm trying to work out for like 2 days. Every time it went to refresh, it failed. And this, what probably makes sense to everyone else, but not me, is like, I went into my workflow, my Gen 2 workflow, and I changed the data type, and then it refreshed. And sorry, then it failed. Sorry, it didn't refresh.
Yeah.
And then I didn't
Yeah.
realize that apparently, if this is wrong, whatever, but I had to delete the table in the lake house,
Yes.
because the data types weren't matching. But in my head, I'm like, Power Query, I can just go and change that, and then it changes the table in Power BI. This stuff to me, I mean, it's good that I learned something, but I'm like, why is that failing?
Yeah. It's funny you're talking about this. The reason I am a little bit optimistic and all that stuff with the fabric and data flow and all the stuff,
Mm,
I will give you a real example here for data flow Gen 1, which we currently have. The client which I just talked about, right?
mm-hmm,
Finance people, they live in Excel, they somehow learn Power Query, and they what they start doing is doing a lot of transformation, merging and grouping and all the stuff. Power Query, they don't understand all the technical stuff, and then they say it takes 6 hours to refresh, right? Because Power Query was so, like, they did so much in Power Query, and they don't understand the technical side. But they said, okay, end of the day, it works, right? So they brought me in, and then I'm like, okay, they said, we have a Power Query knowledge. We know how Power Query works. We don't want to go to another technology. Can we do something with this to speed up the process? Okay. I'm like, okay, you know what? Dataflow Gen 1 was actually just went GA at that time. I remember.
okay.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? We have something that you don't have to have your laptop up and running. You can refresh in the cloud, and then you come in the morning, your data will, doesn't matter if it takes 6 hours. Who cares, right? But you are not have your desktop up and running. He said, okay, right? Really? Yeah, Power Query, still Power Query. Went to Dataflow Gen 1. Took the queries up there. You would not believe. That's the first time I started working with Dataflow Gen 1. All kind of problems. I'm working with Microsoft product team as well. There were places where a type of a column was date, time, or date, something. I don't remember now. That's a long time ago. It would not run the refresh, right? And I'm like talking to the support team, the Microsoft, and they said, can you change the data type to this, to something different, and it will work? And we did that, and it worked. So problem what you just described today, I seen that 4 years ago. So that was the early days, right? But what happened with that was, after all these problems get solved, the data, the same Power Query which was taking 6 hours on laptop or desktop, did not change anything. I did not optimize anything. As it is copied there, you start running within like 45 minutes, right? I was already a hero, right? So it was, so I did nothing. I just told them this is Power Query in cloud, right? I did nothing. It's Microsoft did that, and they're already loving it. Now they're like, okay, 45 minutes. Can we make it like faster? Then we went into, okay, optimize our Power Query, how we're doing it. Do we need to throw some premium capacity? That was purely Power BI Pro. And this is a real journey. And you would not believe, this is like a 4 years now. And finance team, they built this amazing reporting on top of that, right?
Okay.
And they shine in their organization right now. Everybody looking at them as the reporting model within the organization, right? So now IT took over and they are converting it to their system. But the thing is, that journey of Dataflow Gen 1 and all the failures at the early days, I see that with Gen 2. That's why I'm doing the now when I talk to my client, I'm like, okay, we have Gen 2. We will have a better possibilities here. It's still Power Query and all the stuff. And I'm like, but we will probably run into the similar issues what we ran in like 4 years ago. So be ready for that. So, at a point, I would say, yes, I don't expect everything to work perfectly fine from day one.
Sure.
If I be honest with my clients, I think.
But for me, it's not understanding what is
yes,
expected or unexpected behavior.
Yes, that's always challenging.
Yeah, with this, because I mean, I think I saw Vanessa before say she has she comes from a SQL background. You said that you do as well. So I don't. My level, my entry into all this was Power Query, then Power BI, and everything else I learned like around that. So when I see something failing, and when I see it fail because the data type doesn't match, I'm like, okay, is that correct? Should that happen? Is that what expected behavior based on this technology that I'm using? Because I mean, obviously, the data world, all the tools is like this, and I'm like, that, so I have to like slowly like broaden out to understand what I can expect when I do certain
Yeah.
things. And as I say, I've got 41 days to do it until I start paying, paying
Yeah.
for it. So we shall
Um,
see. But I'm happy that basically I think it's good timing that next week I'll be going to Fabric February in Oslo. So
oh, nice.
I
Yes.
can go to the sessions that are kind of identified where I need like the rudimentary information. So
Yeah.
that could help.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm excited. I really, to be very honest, when the new tools comes, we all jump onto that and we love it.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened when Power BI came. We jumped
Mm-hmm.
into this. So many problems, right? 6 years, 7 years, 8 years ago, who would have thought like Power BI will become a market leader, right? And at that time, I had like a Power BI. The company I used to work just came out, not even GA, and then we have a Tableau established product. But the company I used to work, they were cheap. They said, okay, Power BI free of cost, no licensing involved. We are not mature on data.
Yeah.
Even this product is not mature.
Mm.
It's a right fit, right at that
Yeah.
time. And that's what my introduction to Power BI is, right?
Mm.
And look today where we are. And so I hope to that point. One thing is Synapse came like V1
Mm.
and V2 and all the stuff. I never felt connection with Synapse, to be very honest, right? I
Fair.
got
Yeah.
an opportunity to work on certain project where I could have used Synapse,
Mm.
but it never, sometimes things doesn't click. I'm not saying that's
I get it.
it's not a great product or it's
Mm.
not doing what it's supposed to do, but I never felt confident about
Mm.
it.
Yeah.
The reason behind that is because the version changed so quickly one over another. I
Mm.
felt like it's not right.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong, and I'm 100% I'm wrong, because there's a lot of big Synapse community
Mm.
who really use that as their solutioning, but it never worked for me, or I
Mm.
never got connected to it. But with
You never got
Fabric
that
navigation changed.
affinity with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm interested. Sorry, I'm just looking at the comments. I'm interested in this comment from Donald where he's saying, I could see a version of the Power Query GUI that generates Python instead of M code. That's quite an interesting idea. It would be quite cool if you could do that, but also choose the code that it generates.
yeah.
So instead of, I mean that's probably a large ask, but okay, I want to do these are my steps, and you can literally, I mean, I suppose these days you could just feed it in the chat GPT and say change this into Python
Yeah.
or whatever. But if you have that functionality, you can do it to either hit it with the API or to make it with Copilot to make it actually a part of exactly Vanessa, like
Yeah.
Copilot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Hmm.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think with the time, what I am finding is learning a language is good, but how good that is going to be, right? For example, I think again it's going to go back down to that surely speed up your process. But I think how you model, how you bring the data, how you clean those. I think knowing what is required and what business needs and what data you need to bring and how you want to have your solution scale is going to be more important. Of
Hmm.
course, uh, we Power Query. I write in advanced editor. I'm pretty sure you do that too, rather than being right. A lot of us we love doing that. We learned it, but eh, how to optimally transform your data, because so much options. The problem with the technology, I always feel like I'm 20-25 years in technology.
Hmm.
There's a brilliant way of doing things, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
You have to find out, or should be, that's where you stand out from rest of the pack, is like you
Yeah.
bring the values, like how you make
Yeah.
sure that this is what you are doing is going to scale, and it does not die down with something comes up, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think those things are going to be important. Yeah, knowing the language. I think if I'm going to work for another 10 years, hopefully, I'm okay with the knowledge I have. But after that, I don't know if anybody needs to learn these programming languages or these languages, right? So with Power Query, think about that. Like if
Hmm.
there was no interface for Power Query that it auto generate the M code, it would have been really hard. Like it's like any scripting language. I'm
Hmm.
not a Java guy, right? When Java came out, I never felt I used to do a programming. I'm not sure if people know here is like from programming language. I used to do a little bit of programming. Delphi was one of the programming languages.
Hmm.
Long time. It came
Okay.
before Visual Basic, and that was the interface to do the programming, and that was more of a drag and drop, right? And you
Mm.
can write the code as well. It's a much easier interface. When Visual Basic came, it took over and all the stuff, right? Similarly, Power BI came and Tableau is now, we don't know where it is. Similarly, if the Power Query was not like start from the interface and auto script code for you, would have been a little bit harder for people to adopt and all this stuff. But I think
Yeah.
auto generating the code and then from there you learn, I think it make it much easier to, for me personally, it was easier to use that language.
Yeah, it's interesting actually because I started doing this thing every Tuesday, and I called it Deneb Dienstag, when people can just basically Dienstag is Tuesday in German, where people can like book a half-hour session with me, and they can ask me any question they want about Deneb or Vega Lite, not Vega because I can't do that, and a couple of them thus far, and one person in particular was asking about this, about how to start with Vega Lite, because what they'd been doing was actually interestingly what I had been doing when I first started. Like they had found one of Kerry Kolosko's files that she put on a
Mhm.
GitHub and had tried to replicate that, basically copied the code, tried to replicate it. And it's actually exactly how I started, also with Kerry Kolosko. And my advice was stop doing that, because, and then this, of course it's just based on my personal experience, if you take code that's quite advanced and trying to build down from that, it's much harder than
Mhm.
building up from the basics, right? So if
Yeah.
you have, and then you can read this like what 3 lines of code, understand what part does, and then add a bit, incrementally adding stuff. So it's interesting what you say, that you can get a prompt for any LLM, yeah, and then from that generate code and learn from that. I'm not sure if I would be happy learning it that. I mean, of course, you could create a small line of code. I know this will change because we're like in early days of an amazing, terrifying, amazing tool. But I think still very much for now, I'd rather have someone have very strong skills in that language. Yes, auto generated with ChatGPT, whatever, but then have the ability, like, to line by line to check that to ensure it is doing
Mhm.
precisely what you want it to be done. I still think I don't know, I could be wrong. Please, if anyone in the chat or you part disagree, I still think we're quite far from being able to say, okay, I don't know it. Here's what I want. It gives it to me, and I wouldn't like to actively learn from a code that it gives me, because I think it still quite often has too many errors.
Yeah. 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 I think Power Query is the only language, scripting language, which I learned because it was auto-generated. I don't know anything else which is auto-generated. I never came across anything
That's a
in
fair
my
point, actually.
script, right? So
Yeah.
this is the first language or the scripting language, whatever you want to call it,
Mm.
is which was when I started using Power BI. Of course, I got exposed to Power Query because of Power BI, right? I got exposed to
Mm.
DAX because of Power Query. Oh, sorry, before because of Power
Yeah.
BI.
Got it. Yeah.
I got exposed SQL and data warehouse and all the stuff was historical. When I started using Power BI, I have no idea like the SQL the Power Query is happening behind the scene. I'm connecting to
Mm.
SQL and bringing the data in, and I have no idea about advanced editor and all that stuff, right?
Mm.
It's still like replacing, deleting columns and all the stuff. But I was happy that it's adding those steps, and I can go back to the previous step to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
what is in the previous step. That was like winner for me. I'm like, yes, I can always roll back, right? It's
yeah.
not like dead end. If I do something wrong, I can go to the previous step. But when I start closing, I have no single clue that there is behind the scene this this scripting language and M code is getting written, right?
Mm.
Until I get
Mm.
to know that, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
whoa, this is even cool now. Like I can
Yeah.
see what is happening behind the scene, right?
Yeah.
And slowly then you start doing things where you think clicking multiple places is time consuming. Then you get to know, okay, I know
Yeah.
how to do the remove columns. I
Yeah.
can simply go and add 3 steps in one go, then click at 10 different places, right?
And it's also when you start to realize, okay, you can, if I use the interface, I can do this in 3 steps. But also I know how to do it in 1 step. So do I want to, I mean, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of also recently got to the same, just a slightly same subject. I realized I got to this similar level for Vega Lite, where I do generally, for the most part, I find it easier now to write Vega Lite code than to create a visual using the standard Power BI visual pane. Not for like a bar chart, of course. Click on a bar chart, it creates fast, but like to do all these small changes to make it look exactly how you want, there's a lot of searching and clicking involved. But I think once you get familiar enough with what you want to do, it's really interesting. But with back to M, sorry, I remember the date, of course, but I remember the feeling for the first time where I realized I was quite comfortable writing in the advanced editor myself, because when you first start and you discover it, it's like this terrifying place that shan't be touched. Because if you like delete something accidentally, don't know what it is, you've like messed up everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Always like copy and paste it somewhere in case you make a mistake, because the lack of undo is of course somewhat terrifying. But yeah, what are you gonna do?
And I think that one other challenge with the advanced editor, what I found was, apart from you make a mistake, because it's just a simple text. There's no, other programming language, where the reserved words are or some other things, right? Highlighted and all that stuff. Here's like just simple plain text, notepad kind of thing, and you're writing and you're thinking you're putting everything in the right place and hope it will work. But now it's a different story. But anyhow, to be very honest, the client which I just talked about, where they are heavily on data flow and Power Query, when they see me sometime on a call with them and trying to fix something, and I'm going straight into advanced editor and making the changes, they picked it up. They found it much easier. Now I'm like, okay, you guys can do it, but if but make sure you take a copy before you do that, because you're right. Because sometimes the errors messages are not very clear enough to understand what's going on. So that is always
nightmare.
Date and date time. I can't write to the notebook because of you will not understand why it's not writing now.
The thing that annoys me most about writing and with M is the referencing the previous step. That drives me nuts. It makes copying and pasting from other codes so much harder as well. You got to go in and like, oh, what was the last step? Get that right. It's very irritating. So I saw Sandeep had a question for you, by the way. Again, I'm sorry that I can't bring it on the screen because something's broken today, but I'll read it. How many hours a day do you spend coming up with calculation group use cases and ideas? Because you are a master and he loves your videos.
Okay, I know, Sandeep. It's funny. Like I'm not sure. On my YouTube channel, most of my videos, to be very honest, they are driven from either questions on Power BI community forum.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I spend a lot of time there. Used to spend. Now I'm spending less time. Lot of questions. A lot of the videos are driven from that.
Okay.
That's like probably 40%. Other 50% is my real-time actually solutions to my clients. They are driven from there. It's not like to answer to Sandeep is because it's that the recent calculation groups video, which was just yesterday or 2 days ago on Matrix Visual to show that, was actually a use case for one of my clients, right? And when I do these things for my clients, they ask all these crazy things, and and they pay me for that, and I love solving for them. But then I feel like it might be someone else can use these techniques or hacks or whatever you want to call it. And that's why my videos on my channel are not like how to sync slicers and all that stuff. It's more about
I get it.
How to do things which are not commonly done, but they are because of a business use case I came across, and that's it. So that's what is.
That's cool. That's interesting. And I think because I've never personally worked in, I've only ever done like internal consulting, if you will, and because someone like you or anyone who works in consulting has, exposed to lots of different customers, lots of different companies, you get perhaps a broader range of questions. And because someone asks you, it's very likely that there's someone, at least one other person out there in the world, thousands probably, that are wondering the same thing and maybe don't have the time to like fully explore it, or just don't have the expertise. So it's a great way of coming up with ideas for sure.
Yeah, that's the reason why I started like community forum, because even if, let's say, I'm working with customer, not necessarily always they push you to the limit, so they ask some weird questions which you're trying to solve, right? In community forum, there are like people ask the questions which are like, why even you need it, right? I ask myself like, does that make any sense? But at the same time, on my other side is saying, okay, if I have to solve this, how I will do it. And that is exactly my next video is coming out on in Power Query. Very unusual question was asked
Okay.
on Power BI community forum, and I'm like, this question does not make any sense at all. But then I'm like, okay, I have to solve it. Just for the interest. Like he said, the question is, I have a sales data, orders data, or sales data, does not matter, by country, by product, by category, whatever it is. Then we have a business rules maintained somewhere else in Excel sheet somewhere, or SharePoint list. Based on those business rules, we want to filter the data in Power Query, and that combination could be anything. It could be country USA, product category ABC, exclude, filter that out from the data. Next time, the use case could be totally different. So they will have this rule book, what they want to filter, and the number of columns can be different, right? They can say today USA, country, and category. Next time they can say country and year 2020. Remove those rows. I'm like, so the columns can grow and shrink,
Yeah.
and they can be in any different forms. And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why you want to do that? He said, it's in a community forum, but he said, yeah, business rules, sales data, and people maintain the rules, and then when they look at the Power BI, that business rules will get applied and pre-filter the data for them. Now this is such an odd, totally against anything to do with Power BI, but now I am like, okay, let's solve this. So that's the next video. Nobody's going to use it, I know, but I want to do it.
But I love that character. Sorry, so Sandy, tell me to change company.
I'm going to tell that to you. Thanks.
That's actually quite a good idea. Decent response. That's just the video. Here's my just change your company. But yeah, it's those bizarre questions are always kind of fun, because it's like some kind of weird challenge, and you just kind of challenge yourself. It's like if something comes to you, it's like, I need to know that. And also, even if someone doesn't need that exact solution, there'll be something similar, the technique that you can use for something. And I love that kind of stuff. Really, I do.
Yeah.
Quite interesting. I found this is, I guess, not related. It's just about me about thinking in a certain way. I saw something on Twitter the other day, and it was this person, and I think it was a screenshot of a tweet which was being screenshotted and done for a joke, because the math was so bad. I'm not sure if the entire thing was there. Basically, it was saying that in Antarctica there are, like, say, I don't know, 30 million penguins. And in Ireland there are this number of people, so that if all the penguins invaded Ireland, that each person would have to fight 3 million penguins. But of course the math was completely wrong. And it got me thinking, and I couldn't help myself. I started thinking, okay, maybe there are 30 million penguins in Antarctica. Let's take that. Let's take the age groups of people who live in Iceland, so not just the population number, but the demographics between what age and what age, and what age of those people are, like, would you consider fighting age? Like, from how old can you actually fight a penguin? And based on, if you're, like, say between like 12 and 16, maybe you could only reasonably expect them to fight 2 penguins. And in my head, I'm trying to break down the population demographic, not only of Ireland, but also how old are the penguins? From what age can a penguin fight? And I started going to try and find population of penguin data on on wherever, and the population of island based on demographic, and I was like, man, calm down. Nobody cares. No one's ever gonna care about this. Oh yeah. So it's nice. It's sometimes like what you do. It's nice to think about things in a certain way to come to strange conclusions. But sometimes the way I do it, you just need to switch off your brain and say, stop. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I found is also, let's say this particular example, like where they want to pre-filter the data based on some business rules and all this stuff. Maybe nobody's going to use that. I will send the link of that video to that person, and he will be happy he got a solution and all the stuff. Maybe somebody else will look at it and just close their eyes. But what I found is, anytime I have done these kind of videos, or most of those are, even they are from the community forum, somewhere down the road, something similar thing came up, or maybe small part of that. Then I'm like, oh, going back to my video and looking at how I did it there, right? Maybe that part of that portion from that, I think in another way, that is kind of a repository for myself, right? If something I'm doing today, maybe I answer those questions and I like, okay, this is how I will do it, and never record it and do nothing, and then it just disappear. But now once I recorded, it is there. Maybe 6 months after that, I will come back and look, okay, you know what, I can use this for myself. So it helps at the end of the day.
What I find, I don't think I've made an actual video for my channel other than the live streams in probably about 5 months now. I just don't have time or motivation or whatever. But what I find really interesting is that sometimes there'll be a video that I made like a year and a half ago, and I find it interesting that people still watch those, because I was thinking, like, for me, it's a year and a half, it's gone, it's not relevant anymore. There's something, but there are all these things that someone Googles and it comes up, and then you'll get like a comment, oh, this is really helpful. And I was like, really? I was like, I should maybe update them. I'm not sure if that's the best technique anymore, But yeah, it is. It's kind of like there's another thing as well. Obviously it helps people to do their thing. It helps me to learn as well. A downside of having videos on YouTube, I've noticed that it's also a way to watch myself incrementally gain weight. Like if I go back to a video from 2 years ago where I'm probably like 5 kilos lighter, I look at my face and I look younger and thinner. I'm like, God damn it, that's not cool. I'm going to delete these videos.
Yeah, Scott. Yeah. No, it's it took. You know what? The videos on Power BI and YouTube. I'm not a social media person. Like I'm on social media enough to do things, but I'm not very creative when it comes to these things. This YouTube was like when I started like 2 years ago, a year ago. Couple of my clients who has their Power BI team in house, they keep on asking, okay, what we want to learn? Do you have any YouTube? They keep on asking me, and I thought, like, okay, you know what? Maybe this is something I don't think I have a skill set to produce videos. And if I go back and I look at my videos, editing and all this stuff, and but I really, my goal is more over to take this topic and do a video on this. Can I have that message out or not? Can somebody take benefit out of it? Whether the editing is clear or not, whether the surroundings are okay or not, I really don't care. Of course, with time I'm getting better at it. But the thing is, like, if somebody comes back and tells me one comment on my video comes and say, okay, this was useful and it helped him, I'm like super happy after that. I'm like, okay, you know what? This video has done it justice. I spent 1 hour in doing this, putting the thought process together, and it's fine. If somebody gets a benefit out of it, why not, right? Yeah. So I love that. That helps me to do the next video.
Your motivation. See, exactly. So keep the nice comments coming, otherwise he's going to stop. All right, you need to keep the motivation up. But you're also you do like conferences as well, right? You speak in Power BI Summit, also Power BI and Fabric Summit. You speak in there. Is that correct?
I'm speaking there as well. Yeah. Nice. So I try to do Summit. I would like to, because there's a lot of things happen in Europe. The thing is, I'm in a West Canada, and
Mm,
even in USA, let's say something happening in New York, for me it's like a full day almost, right?
mm.
5 hour flight plus 3 hours time zone difference, like an 8 hours, right? So it means I can't go back and forth in one day, even if I
Down.
wanted. I have to arrange a day to stay there and all the stuff.
I got
I
it. Yeah.
wanted to go to a lot of places, but I think I'm in a place where there it in person is not possible to
I
do
understand.
that, and but I enjoy it. I'm doing whatever I can do remotely and all that stuff, and
Nice.
yeah, love it. Yeah,
How close are you to Seattle, though? Is that
2 hours. Seattle is our like shopping place. We go for shopping to
that's
Seattle.
okay, right? So there must be plenty going on in Seattle, I'm sure. Plenty of events. I mean, I guess you have the MVP. Is the MVP Summit coming up, or has it
Yeah,
already happened?
March. Yeah,
Okay, you going to that?
yes,
There you go. 2 hours away.
totally.
Definitely. Nice.
Like, most likely going this year. Usually March is one of those, like last year it was hybrid, in person and remote.
Okay.
I could not go there because I was in India and I just came back from India and I could not afford to go there and go away for another 3 4 days. And this year I'm hoping to be there. Like I don't want to miss that.
Awesome. I'm gonna again. I would bring this comment up, but I can't because something's broken today. So Christian is saying that you're also doing the Romanian
Oh
user group
yeah,
on this
oh,
on
yeah,
the
29th. Yes,
29th. Yeah.
yeah. We still have to finalize the topic, Christian.
All right. All right. What are you leaning towards? Something fabricy? Or you just don't know it all yet?
Yeah, well, don't know. I will leave it
I,
up
I
to
won't. I
Christian.
won't. I
I
won't
really
push you
know.
for an answer
Yeah.
there, mate.
Yeah, one thing I want to do on a fabric. Sandeep is here. He's big on fabric, and
Hmm.
I get scared when he's here and he's talk Python notebook. He do some weird stuff which I don't even understand what he's talking about, but I pretend that I know what he's saying. But anyhow, that's my brain only worked that far. So
I got it.
there are so many fabric related, because fabric is right now on fire, right, everywhere, and I see it, and I know enough. I know I can get the work done in fabric somewhat, but at the same time I think I'm missing a lot, and maybe I'm not doing it right. What I thought is, because with Power BI there are only two things when you're doing with the Power BI and all the
Hmm.
stuff, like you have a data source and then you
Yeah.
mainly come to the visualization, of course, which in between there's a transformation, Power Query, modeling,
Yeah.
DAX, and visualization, but within one single package. Now, Power BI Desktop, you have everything within that, right?
Hmm.
For example,
Hmm.
when it comes to Fabric, you have a notebooks, you have data warehouse, you have data for Gen 2, you have a data factory pipelines,
Hmm.
and all the stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of videos and topics and blogs and stuff coming up, and I'm learning from all of that. What I thought is my next venture into that, probably I will be asking a lot of help from other people in the community. I want to come up with a use case, a real use case
Hmm.
for a company to make some story out, and then do that as part of the end-to-end process using Fabric. Like, okay, this is a company, this is their requirement, and they want to use purely Fabric. On top of that, forget about the best practices for a second,
Hmm.
but there are all these toolings available within Fabric. Use those different tools and come out with a solution with time, so that there is one single story, like actually you are doing a solution for your client and how you approach Fabric, because it's so big, right? How you will do, like where you want to use pipeline, where you want to use
Hmm.
data for Gen 2, data warehouse, all that fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
Maybe these will not be 100% best practices or perfect, but at least to explore those technologies
Yeah.
to meet the requirement. And then with time, add more to it, like, okay, what are the best, how we, because end of the day, we know Fabric is not there yet. Like when it comes to security, maybe today we talk about
Hmm.
RLS, maybe not the same what is going to be 6 months from now or a
Yeah.
year from now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So things going to change quite a lot, right? Data for Gen 2, what is today, the issues you are having, they are not going to be tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
But the point is, I want to start with something like, okay, a fake company and want to use fabric and this is their data source,
Yeah.
what do you do, how you do it, right?
Yeah.
And
I like that.
have those small videos and take, like, I'm not a notebook guy, I'm not a Python guy. Sandeep, can you do a 5-minute video for me on doing that thing, right? If he agreed. Yeah,
I think
he's
also that I like the idea of doing the video sessions, but it could also make a pretty good pre-con as well. If
could
you
be.
if you had this, I like this idea of the fake company in a business use case, and it would make it would make it easy for someone like me to understand. So I like the idea of that being like a day session where you can really go through the entire process of the case, of the problems, of the possible solutions, the solutions that you would choose, and how you'd implement those. Um, I'm calling pre-con on that one. So you set it up, and I'll pay good money to come and see you do it, mate. Maybe you do it together with Sandeep or something, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, this I'm thinking for so long because I see people like somebody goes data flow Gen 2, right? There's a video done a lot of I spoke on data flow Gen 2 quite a lot now and totally TL side of things, but I'm showing one small piece of this whole
Mm,
ecosystem, right? And that doesn't mean that like when to use data flow Gen 2. Of course, I'm showing a use case and when you use it, but
mm,
now I want to take it like start from a business problem, not from a technology, but start from a business and then use technology and use components available, what Fabric has to offer to us, right? Because for me, if somebody come to me, my first will be data flow Gen 2, data warehouse, and Power BI, right?
yeah.
Because I'm comfortable within that. That's where my I will rotate around, like because that's what I know and I will live within that. But I want to understand other part of it. Maybe I'm not expert in all that stuff, but I would surely poke things around there. So we'll see how does that goes. It's I'm thinking of this for quite a lot now, but
I like it.
want to do it.
Yeah, for sure. We could also argue that technically Fabric is so new that no one is that much of an expert. I mean, some people are for sure, of course, but the number of people who are experts in Fabric, being a very broad name for tool that consists of many different. It's not a tool. It's a product that consists of many different tools. To be a Fabric expert is quite hard because you have to
Yeah.
you have to know about lots of things, which is why I'm really focused on just really specific. I mean, I want to start with a lake house. I have a lake house. I want to get data into that lake house. So how do I do that? Just explore like topic by topic.
Yes.
um i
Makes
would
sense.
i would love to get myself to the point where I could make videos like Fabric videos by a person who doesn't know Fabric very well. I think the benefit of that is that it helps you explain things in a different way. If you
Hmm.
yourself are very basic and you've started to understand how things work, it's nice to be able to explain things on that basic level for people who need that very basic instruction. However, I'm still not at the point where I've learned some stuff, but I'm still not at the point where the stuff that I've learned, if am I doing it the correct way? Is it just
Hmm.
a way, but quite a bad way? So as I
Hmm.
incrementally learn,
Yeah.
I think it could be quite a cool
Yeah.
thing to do. And Vanessa, let's have a hackathon. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Truly. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I- in general, I'm excited about it. To be very honest,
Mm,
and I can't wait to have my first solution on Fabric, which is in production. I'm not confident yet. I'm doing a couple of POCs for my clients.
okay.
The reason they are okay with that, they understand this might not work because they're not going to have a dependency on this
Yeah.
because
Okay.
they have a parallel system. They want to develop something parallelly,
Yeah.
and they're good enough and they value my input enough that okay, if Pravinder is saying this will be good, so maybe not today, but tomorrow it will be helpful for them.
Yeah.
In terms of if we can save money for them, we can do things much faster in terms of data preparation and transformation, and they have a better control and all this stuff. So I think there are a lot more values can be get added pretty quickly if everything works fine, because that's the one thing, because I get scared one day your data warehouse works, other day it does not work. That scares me.
And also the fact that it's not preview anymore, so the assumption it has to be that it should, but I don't know. Maybe it's not as maybe it feels sometimes halfway between preview and GA, even though it is GA, of course. I'm not sure, but
Maybe I want to ask like people who join, like if they're using Fabric and they feel comfortable about it, or do they, they're running into issues, they're not using it. I don't know what's the general. We love Fabric, we all talk about it, but how much we're
yeah,
using it in real life, I don't know. I haven't seen
this
anything in Fabric yet. So in real life,
it's a fair question. Like how many customers or how many companies are really basing a lot of their daily data activity within the Fabric environment? It's actually a good question. I'll be really curious to know about this. But obviously, like to get a global figure would be pretty much impossible for us. But just
yeah,
to see if I mean, there must be some, and I guess there are companies who've been doing it for a while if they had access to it pre-release or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, that's a fair point actually. Who has actually had experience of rolling it out? And this is like basically this is not like a data lake where we kind of have, but this is our data lake. This is where we consume all our data from.
yeah, yeah.
Had issues in free capacity, not using in prod yet. I'm using Databricks. Okay.
Well,
Okay. Interesting.
yeah. That's the one thing I haven't came across. I don't expect people will be jumping on Fabric right now and putting their analytical solution on Fabric. It's still very new. Doesn't matter if it's in a GA, but I'm
Mm.
still like, as I'm telling, like I'm doing POC. I'm gonna run
Yeah.
systems parallelly and see how does that goes. But otherwise, I, I'm in a place where we don't have like a big industry or big footprint or big community on data and all the stuff, right? But
Okay.
um, I don't know about you guys or others how they're seeing things, but I surely want to do something with it to see where it fails, how it fall apart.
I think that's the thing. There are many people who really want to do some cool stuff with it, and a lot of people are just waiting to be given that chance. So, as you say, you're doing the POC. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
But the more people who are like testing to ensure, or just kind of incrementally like adding bits of pieces, I think it'll be the uptake curve will be quite maybe I don't know hockey stick. I'm not sure, um, but yeah, I can understand why people are kind of like waiting to see what other people do, perhaps. Or but it's been less than a year, right? Yeah,
yeah,
for sure. It's been less than a year. It's been like around 9 months or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
We went in GA and Ignite. I think that was like what 4 months ago, 5 months ago. Yeah,
yeah. I
sometime.
think it was I think it was just before I went to Italy.
Yeah,
It was I don't know why I said that means literally means nothing to you. Yeah, I spent I was in Italy. Of course, you know that one was that. Yeah, so about 4 months ago sounds about
yeah,
right for sure.
yeah.
Nah, we'll see, but it's interesting, and it's another thing. Another thing on the list of things to learn alongside that, like I've wanted to learn Python for the past 3 years and all that kind of stuff, you know.
We're gonna ask. Hey Scott, you Scott is in Vancouver, just because
Oh,
I'm not
real
sure.
cool.
Yeah. So you been using Fabric? I know you're big on SQL, as far as I remember, Scott.
If you hopefully he's still there. If not, you speak
Yeah.
with
Okay.
I'm not sure, but yeah. If someone is in the chat has information about this, we'll be happy. Yeah, there you go, Chris. See now. Chris rocks up. All right. So if anyone's going to know about companies using Fabric or the uptick, it's going to be
Yes.
the man who does the Fabric Fridays and his
Yeah.
deep
Totally.
deep into this subject. He must have some experience of using it in a in production. I'm sure because I mean if you had Chris organizing it for you, then definitely would be a thing. The first shall be the last. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
I haven't seen it, but obviously, yeah. Let's see what Chris has to say. Anything about that? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry to waiting for an answer. What are your sessions that or the session that you're doing for the
Fabric.
Power BI Summit?
Yeah. So there's a three of one. I'm doing a round table with other MVPs.
Cool.
That is more about on the community side of things. The second one I'm doing with a co-presenting with another person from Montreal. She's very new into these speaking things, and I'm trying to mentor and help her. And it's more on the time intelligence things.
Nice.
And so we are doing it together. And the third one I'm doing on the paginated report. I know paginated report is not highly used, but that's one of my
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, it's because one of my very big client here, they use the paginated report heavily than anything else in Power BI, and they have
Hmm.
Power BI data set and paginated report, big footprint, and working paginated report with Power BI semantic model is, we have to start using this word, new word, so is is a little bit sometimes can be challenging. So I've
Hmm.
done many sessions on that. So that's another one I'm presenting on that one. So yeah.
Cool. That sounds interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
that should be fun. So in the next last year, I submitted a fair few sessions, and I think pretty much, I mean, in-person sessions. I think pretty much all of them, other than one, got rejected. So, and I'm not very good at just saying, okay, I'll submit to this, and this. So I just that's the start of this year. I just submitted for quite a few sessions, and I think like 90% of them got accepted. So I was like, damn, it's gonna be busy. For other people, not. It's like my version of busy. So next, actually, interestingly, next week, like I said, I'm going to be in Fabric February in Oslo, which actually pertains to this live stream that I'm doing, because the session that I'm meant to be doing for Oslo should be very interesting, because if it works properly, it will essentially be a live in-person version of one of these live streams. But the
Oh,
plan is also to stream it to the YouTube channel as well. So
wow.
should be me together with Mike Carlo, basically on the stage or whatever it is, talking very informally, just chatting about fabric and community in front of
Oh,
people as in front of people as they eat their lunch. It's going to be a very interesting concept. So if
wow.
that, I hope it works well, and we'll see how it goes. So if it works, I'll be back next Thursday doing this very same thing, but um, on a stage with my, and also, yes, easiest session ever. I kind
Yeah.
of feel bad that there's been so little. I mean, me and Mike have met a couple of times, like on Teams, to chat to kind of organize it, but there are no slides. There's no like organization. It's like, yeah, we're just gonna go on stage and like talk for a while and see how it goes.
Wow. That's gonna be cool.
That
Yeah.
should be
You
cool.
showed
And
it. Yeah. That's interesting. That's pretty cool.
it's, yeah, it should be. It's an odd idea. I just submitted for a laugh, to be honest. I didn't expect to get accepted. Also, then I'm doing the Fabric, Power BI and Fabric
Summit. Yeah.
Summit. Thank you, Jesus Christ.
What session you are doing there?
My session is called "Your Report Looks Boring and Nobody Cares."
Oh.
It's that is my ode to making reports that are boring, but it's an okay thing to do, because it's just based around this concept that, this aim to build a very beautiful stylized report is sometimes an aim that you really don't need to have, because there's nothing wrong with a report that's very plain, that just delivers insights, and how, but not ugly, not beautiful, just
Mhm.
boring and good.
Yeah.
And then I'm actually going to Utrecht, how you pronounce it, and there I'm doing a session called. And I submitted this one because the people from the Netherlands, they kind of love to swear, so I submitted a session called "Goodbye Visual Shite, Hello Vega Light." That's one.
That's so cool.
So
That's
yeah,
very creative.
it's got basically, it's like four or five sessions coming, and each one is a different session. I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew a little bit, but it should be an interesting few weeks, basically. So yeah,
Nice.
we shall see.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah,
Awesome. That's
yeah, good
great.
fun,
Yeah.
good times. Yeah, so yeah, it's nice, but
Oh,
it's
Scott
nothing that
said,
big
yeah,
yet.
he's using fabric. Some of that's pretty interesting. That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
I
I
missed
think.
that. Sorry, Scott. Thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
bringing that part. Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah,
Okay, so we can see that people are actually doing it now. Very nice.
yeah.
See,
Okay.
He's answered a question, so it's a good time. Oh, a second here. Pageant reports. Our team. Oh my God, all the comments are coming through now. Our team at Duration Insights is developing training for paginate reports. That's interesting. It definitely still has a place. Definitely agree with that. My wife uses paginated reports quite often as well, and she loves them. She also loves the Power BI report builder, which is what you use. She
Yeah.
thinks it's totally intuitive. She used it. Oh yeah, it's really good. She said, I prefer it than Power BI desktop. And I'm like, what? I've never heard, but yeah, she loves it. So I actually, on my previous company, I had wanted to use it for one particular report, which so yeah, we just want tables, which is of course a very annoying thing to do quite often in Power BI. But yeah, I can understand financial reporting, paginated reports totally
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, like one of my biggest client did this biggest footprint is Pagina Report. They probably have like the purpose of that was they were exposing their pay, like and they are in the car dealerships and all that stuff. And I think that industry people are like kind of more aged and traditionally using Excel and those kind of tables and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they have these paginated reports exposed to them. The one reason is because it's columns and columns traditionally they want to see. And the second is to take an advantage of exporting the data for them
Yeah.
out of it in Excel and do whatever you
Yeah.
want to do afterwards. So that's kind of, I was, when they hired me, of course, their goal was to create a data set, which is semantic model again. Sorry, I have to go back.
I get it. It's okay.
Yeah, semantic model to be perform all kind of stuff because we're struggling with that very large data. And when they said we will be mainly using it for catching a report, I was surprised. I'm like, okay, that's
Yeah.
different use because I did not expected that.
Yeah.
But it was good learning there because on my channel I have a playlist for paginated reports, and very
Mm.
unique use cases I try to address in those ones. Again, those are actually real time problems I came across
Get
when
it.
padding reports. And then like somebody said I want to put a parameter, I want to put like a cities I want to filter on by comma. I
Yeah.
want to say Los Angeles comma Seattle comma another city, and then padding report filter on that. And now all those weird things people ask sometimes, and then you're like, okay, why do you can't have a drop down list and you pick? And
Yeah.
you, because the list was so long for them, it's not easy to pick different values. So they said, okay,
Mm.
it's easy for them. Maybe
Mm.
they're cutting and pasting the value from somewhere. Let's say the ticket numbers they want to search, right? They
Mm.
probably have a string somewhere and they want to cut and paste, comma separated, and then use that as a parameter value to
Yeah.
filter your paginated report. Like very, I will never come across that thing until somebody asks me that kind of thing. I
Mm.
will not make a video thinking about this question, right? So no idea like how people are going to consume the reports, right? So
I think
that's
also when you try to think of your own ideas, it's really hard just to kind of get away from the things that you already know and do. You need that extra input because you need someone to come and ask you something that you've just literally never would have come up with before. Because of
yeah,
course you're limited to your own what you're exposed to. You're limited by your own knowledge, and of course it makes sense to me. If your knowledge is basically based on this, you're not going to think of a question outside that because
yeah,
it's logical that you just wouldn't.
yeah.
So yeah, it's nice to be in a position where you. This is one of the reasons why I love teaching so much. If I have like to give Power BI sessions, or when people, I always say, if you have any questions, come to me. I'll, if I either have an answer or we'll try and work out the answer together. It's the best way of learning yourself as well.
Mm.
Is just people asking you questions.
Yeah, that's why I find the Power BI community forum like not now, but earlier I spent so much time there. Like it was my like I have to be there for another hour or 2 hours every day,
Hmm.
even if I'm not responding, but at least looking at the questions people ask. Right,
Interesting.
somebody else is responding. Like I don't have an energy or time to solve for it because sometimes you have to. The answer is not straightforward. You really
Yeah.
have to create a data on your end to make it
Hmm.
work.
Hmm.
And but when people ask those questions, then they make you think, okay, how you will solve it, how you will
Hmm.
do it.
Yeah.
That's just a
Makes
different
sense.
business needs, right? We
Yeah.
not necessarily we all come across all kind of business requirements, right?
Mm.
Sometimes they are very same standard, like period over period analysis, you know, those kind
Yeah.
of standard things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How you push yourself outside what you know, right?
Mm.
Until somebody challenge you or you get across something
I should
which
do
you
that as
don't.
well. I always try. I always tell myself, oh, I'm going to like start paying more attention to questions on Reddit and stuff, and I never do it. But I should really try to actively spend more time in the forums, just for that reason as well. And it's also just different. It's nice to see a different sort of question. You're quite right.
Yeah.
I'm not done. Sorry, I'm just looking at Scotty. I've not done much Python, but I'm going to do some web scraping with Power Query, and that's PySpark and notebooks with Fabric. Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
fun. Go for it.
Good luck.
Yeah, enjoy that, Scott, for sure. And then you can make a video and show us how to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
I could sit here and chat to you all night, to be honest, but I'm gonna have to call it a day at some point because I've got to go and get all my kids' stuff. It's so in Germany at the moment. It's like fashion, which is like where the kids all like dress up and they have parties and stuff in the school. So I have to go and prepare a costume for my daughter to wear in school tomorrow. So this is my evening. So I'm gonna have to call it a day. I apologize, but
awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure you're busy as well. You got plenty to do. It's a what day is it today? Thursday, and I'm sure you've got all your eager customers waiting for answers.
That's the one thing I enjoy.
Yeah,
I can schedule the day I want it to be.
that's nice. I like
But
it.
sometimes it starts pretty early. So anyway, no, I really thanks Ben for having me. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you,
it.
man. Thank you.
It was a nice surprise when you reached out to me because I see other Ben all the time on social media. But when real Ben reached out, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I can't say no to it. So,
love it.
yeah,
Cool.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
My mates, it's been my absolute pleasure to meet you and talk to you and stuff. I hope at some point I'll see you in person one day. Everyone in the chat, thank you for joining, ask some questions, just talking along. It always makes it much more enjoyable as well. And as I say, maybe I'll be back if we can make it work together with Mike on the stage. Maybe we'll be back live from Oslo for a special version of Connect Live next week. We shall see. But either way, enjoy the rest of your week. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. And speak to you soon. Thanks, goodbye. Everyone. Thanks, Pav. Cheers. Bye.